Morning. I was out garage sailing yesterday, and when I go to these garage sales I usually ask the people running the garage sale if they have any old engines, small engines for sale, small engine stuff. And the woman at the desk said that her husband had an old snapper, and I told her I'd be interested in it. And the guy called me up, she called him, he called me, and he was almost ready to give it to me over the phone for nothing. And I went out there and looked at it and drove out to his house. It was about 15 minutes away, and I offered him $10 for it because I just think that any machine that's complete and nobody's really hasn't taken some air cleaner parts off or some things that are missing is worth $10, just because of the parts or anything else. But I kind of wanted this machine because it'll match up with my old snapper rider that I repaired a couple years ago. And I don't know if you guys know anything about these. They are virtually indestructible. Everything is very heavy duty. This is darn near commercial grade quality. It is in really pretty good condition, other than it has not been used. It's dirty because it's been in kind of maybe a damp environment, but there's no self-propelled on this model, so there's really not a whole lot to go wrong with it, other than this engine is, or this model is from 1975, so it's going to have points in it, so I might have a couple issues with that. But I kind of like working on these old things and getting them running and just basically restoring or recycling what was meant to last in the first place. And the only reason this probably has got pushed aside is the guy got old. And this machine will last you a lifetime if you maintain it. It will last you the rest of your days. There's really not a lot that can go wrong with it. I checked the oil. The oil is like right where it needs to be. It's not too dirty. It's probably got some old gas in it, and I'm going to change the gas and see if it's got some spark. If it's got some spark, this thing should start right up. It might not have spark because of the points, but that's real fixable also. And like I said, this will really match up good with my other rider, so it'll be kind of fun getting this running. Oh yeah, and if I do need a diaphragm for this diaphragm type carburetor, I do have one on hand, so we'll throw that in there. But he had it maintained from a guy that worked on engines, and it just might be okay, so I'm going to try and put some new fuel in here and see if it'll run. Well, after getting the covers off and getting into this a little bit, this linkage adjustment doesn't look like that spring is the right spring. I'll compare it to the one I have. It looks too loose. Auto choke doesn't seem to spring back. So this is all needs to be gone through. So I'll get into that. Look and see what kind of spring this is supposed to have. Just doesn't seem like it would. It's quite right. Got old fuel in the tank, so that's needs to be cleaned out. Probably put a new diaphragm in it too. It's pretty dirty right down here in the head, but it was used, and that's fine. And looks like everything's here, and that's probably the most important thing. And it was Looks like this is got a little gas around it, or cleaner, carburetor cleaner. Looks like somebody maybe put one diaphragm in there at one time. That's an interesting puzzle about working on these machines, that you don't know the total history. You know, they say, and I love this when everybody says, well, it always ran good. Well, it doesn't run now, is what I can tell you. It does not run now. There's no spark. This thing will not start in the condition it's in. So we'll get in here and clean a lot of this mess up, and see if we can get this 1975 snapper to fire up. It'll be kind of fun the day it does. Yep, shouldn't be too long. Just go through it all. Well, I'm back. Got into this a little bit, and the failure of no spark may have been my fault, because they've got a bale wire hooked up to the throttle, and since this doesn't have a throttle brake shut off, I didn't put a clamp on it. I may have had this turned off, and it may have been shorting it out. But on the other hand, after getting into this, there was so much dirt and grime and 40 years of oil and dirt in these fins, that if I would have got this thing running, this machine probably wouldn't last much longer, because it just would overheat, because it's just no way that these cooling fins would have been able to cool this engine. It was just saturated with dirt. You can see just all the debris I'm getting out of here, and so I'm picking all that out, getting it cleaned out. I'll blow all this out and put it back together and see if I get spark. Maybe leave this negative part of the cable off, and hopefully I get spark. But this coil looks pretty old. Obviously it's as old as the machine, but somebody's been in here, because this is definitely a wire that was baled over here to the make a kill switch, and it might have had something like that when it was new, but this is definitely, I believe, aftermarket, or somebody was in here. But well, this is what I'm finding, you know, trying to preserve these old machines, because they're worth saving. They really are. I mean, they got enough compression to run. They just get gummed up. Carbs get gummed up, old gas in them. Nobody wants to bail. Nobody wants to get their hands dirty, I believe. So they just push them to the street. Well, this gentleman actually was still hanging on to it, but he was ready to give it away too. But this will be interesting to see if we get this started today. All right. Well, after getting in here and cleaning out all these air cooling fins, I do want to say, you guys have done this a lot. You probably have a favorite scraping tool, and this is mine. It's an old Craftsman screwdriver. Seems to get in all these little air fin vents, and this machine is going to thank me for doing this, because it's going to stay about 100% cooler than what it did before, because it was almost totally clogged with debris, and you guys know what I'm talking about. It was just filthy. And so this is one of the things I wanted to mention. And the points look like they're closing, but I'm going to check the gap next and see if they are for sure. This coil wire's got a crack in it, so it's negotiable, or it's probably may work or may not. It's up in the air if that's any good also. And Condensers usually go bad on these also, but we'll get this put back together, and we'll see if it's got any spark. That'd be I definitely got compression. I got good compression with this machine. Well guys, I got this coil back on, points clean, and giving this a spin, and I don't know if you can see it or not. I do have spark, so we're going to proceed to cleaning up this carburetor, and I think we might get this running today. I was going to take this manifold off and clean all underneath there, but I was afraid of ripping that gasket, so I just kind of left well enough alone. Got as much dirt out of here as I possibly could, just so this engine will breathe once again and actually cool again. And this coil does look really old. It's probably original, but as long as we're making spark, we'll get some gas in this thing today and try to run it.
Try and start this 1975 Snapper. I went through it. I didn't actually do the diaphragm and the carburetor, but it looked pretty clean, so I'm going to leave it be and see if it starts just the way it is. This machine probably has been running 25 years or so, but clean a bunch of stuff up on this, and hopefully we'll get her going. It's been a while. We were just interrupted by a sale here. We got a garage sale going. Guy come by, so just hopefully it'll take off right now. Okay, we just had carburetor just flooded out, so we might need a new diaphragm, but that's a pretty good sign. Smoked a little bit, but it's been sitting a long time. So, well, welcome back. We put a new diaphragm in the carburetor, tank carburetor, Gibson Stratton Pulsar Jet, and we're going to try this again and see if it's going to run any better. I don't know if it will or not, but then maybe we'll tune up the cards. Hopefully we get this thing A-okay. What'd I do?
Hey guys, I'm working on this Snapper again. Had it running pretty good, except that high speed was missing, so a little bit, and I'm not sure if it's electronic or fuel related, but what I'm going to do is change this little O-ring here that I got, and just because I think it might be leaking at high speed. It seems to run fine at idle, just high speed. Maybe it's sucking a little more air and not the right air gas mixture. I'm not sure which. So I got this part and I'm going to put it in. It is 270344S, and what it is just a little O-ring that goes right in here, and hopefully that'll stop any leaks, because I noticed that O-ring's a little bad shape in there, and we're going to change that out and see if that helps. And get this out with a little pick if you guys want. Just pull it out. I put a little grease on it to help it seal, but I noticed the gasket a little frayed. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a couple frays on it. It's not really cracked, but it's not. It's probably a 40-year-old O-ring. So I thought I'd change that out and see if that helps this machine run a little bit better at high speed. That's my goal here. I'll put that in and get it on the mower, and we'll do a little test run and see if it runs any better. There's just two screws that hold this carburetor on. One here, 1/2 inch, and one on this side, 7/16. These nut drivers work real good to get in there and get these off. It's kind of a old design, obviously, because this mower is from 1975, but it's really pretty simple. It's kind of nice. You can drop the carburetor with a couple bolts, easy to get it apart and work on it. We've done the diaphragm and everything else in this carb to clean it out, so if this is not going to run right after this, I'm kind of leaning more towards maybe a new coil. But, hopefully this will help a little bit, and trying to preserve this old 1975 Briggs & Stratton engine. This is my team snapper, my push mower, and my rider. This is what I mow my grass with. Thanks for watching.